Hello, my name is George Runs and I have PB'd in every single running race that I have ever run. In this video we're going to be talking about my tips for you to make sure that you get a 10k PB in your next race. This is going to be alongside my 10k running recap where I ran a 34:43 10k last week.
That's a running world record, and he takes the win.
Hello, so we're here at the London Winter Run 10k. Hopefully get a good time today, but we'll just see how it goes. 2 weeks from the 5k, so I'm feeling good, legs are feeling great. Just gotta go get in my wave now, and I'll see you on the course. Bye. Okay, so pretty much here the race is just started, and as you can see, Ellis Cross is already taking the lead. He ended up winning in 28 minutes and 50 seconds. If you didn't know that already, there was lots of Hoka athletes at the start line, and pretty much all of them were taking this event quite seriously, even though they had originally said that they would run it as a tempo run. So here you can see a big group of people come past, including Steph Twell and a few other really good Hoka athletes. So at this point in time, I'm just kind of settling into the race and making sure that I'm not exerting myself too much. As you can see, there's a few people here who are pushing quite hard, but there I am, just coming past with Tom Folan, and we're just kind of settling in and making sure that we're running our own race and not really thinking too much about what everyone else is doing. Okay, so at this point in the race, it was really just still early stages, and there was quite a nice downhill going on, and as I came round the bend, I really just wanted to make sure that I could pick up some pace on this downhill, and I wasn't pushing too hard. I knew that this was going to be a PB race if I just could maintain the speed that I was going at, and that's one of my biggest advices if you are racing, is just make sure that you are hitting your own pace and running your own race. So here's another group of the Hoka athletes coming past, and you can see I've already moved up, still with the same pack, but we've already overtaken quite a few people just in this last kind of first kilometre. Okay, so at this point in the race you can tell that I'm definitely falling off the pack here. The pacer that was pacing Tom Folan and I really started to get a good push in up the hill, and I was just trying to hang on as much as possible. I just couldn't keep the contact that I really needed, but it's alright, because when we get closer to the 7k mark, I have kind of started to find another group of people to run with, and I really used them to help push me on. And that's pretty much it. I ended up crossing the line in 34 minutes and 43 seconds. Now to get into the main part of the video. So I think the first point that you really need to think about is what goals you have set for your next 10k race. Pretty much I like to do it off of doing a 5k time trial a few weeks out, so then you can work out where you want to be for your 10k. So usually what I would say is double your 5k time and add about 2 or 3 minutes on. This kind of can give you a window of where you reckon you should be able to run. Now I'm a bit different with this because my endurance is quite strange. I ran a 17:05 a few weeks ago. If you watched my last video on my channel, that was the 17:05 video, but last weekend I just ran a 34:43 10k. So everyone's different, and I'm just going to be walking you through how I got from a 17:05 5k a few weeks out to then getting into race shape for a 10k. So for beginners, I think the best thing to do if you're looking to improve your 10k time is getting one long run in each week. Instead of targeting a distance, I would suggest targeting a time, because time on feet really matters when you're trying to step up from a 5k to a 10k. So I would say try and get one long run in each week. Now I would say for a beginner, try to do an hour of long running a week. And this has to be a completely easy pace, and you should be able to talk like how I'm talking to you now. If you don't have friends that want to come with you on this run, then obviously you can put a podcast in with some headphones, or just try and find a friend that maybe wants to come out on a bike with you. This always kind of makes the running a lot more sociable. This will improve your aerobic base and make sure that when it comes to racing, your aerobic system will be a lot better, and it will make kind of race pace probably seem like a breeze in the park. The next two biggest points are your sessions. Now, I like to do 2 sessions a week, but if you're just beginning into learning how to run faster, I would definitely make sure you're doing 1 interval a week. And interval sessions are basically, you have a certain amount of time that you have to run within and a certain amount of pace depending on how far you are in your running. If you're new to running, I would say what you need to really do is look at your 10k goal time. Let's say your goal race time is 50 minutes for the 10k. That means you need to be running at 5-minute kilometers for the whole 10k. Now, what a really great way to work this into a session is do intervals, let's say 6 or 7 lots of 5 minutes. And if you can do a kilometer each time, then that's really good. But what I would also suggest is perhaps closing down the time so you're running faster than race pace. So let's say give yourself 4 minutes 30 seconds to run 1k. Then have 90-second rest where you're jogging around, or you can have it completely stationary, have some water, take some fuel on, and then go again. Do this 5 to 6 times because the intensity is higher. So you really want to be able to think about your intensity and also your level of running. So if you go too intense too soon, what will happen is the weeks will go by, you'll see an improvement, but you might get injured. So that's one thing you really want to avoid, is injury. So the next thing that I would definitely suggest for every runner is think about less is more. So less, I would say, is long runs, easy runs, sessions, and stretching. Obviously the last point, stretching, is really key, and so are easy runs. So the way you want to split up your week, let's say you've just started running, I would say run 4 days a week. First day, do an easy run so that your legs are ready. Then do a session run. So that can be an interval session like I suggested, or you can do a tempo run. So a tempo run, what you would do is you could do longer reps at a slower pace, and this is going to be below your goal race pace. Now, the whole point of this is you need to be pushing hard, but I would say you're not going to be pushing extremely hard. So you should be able to say 3 or 4 words per sentence. Now, that's a really great gauge for anyone. You don't need any fancy technology. You can literally do it off of feel. And that's the way I suggest, if you're looking to start off getting your 10k time down, think about the 4 words per sentence for the tempo run. So let's say you could do a broken up tempo run if you're just starting out. You could do 15 minutes, 10 minutes, and then 5 minutes. And you can gradually increase the pace as you go down the ladder. So when you're starting at 15 minutes, you need to make sure that you can say 4 words per sentence, but you need to still be breathing heavily to some extent. So it's faster than an easy run, but it's slower than what you would do your intervals at. So the final thing that you really need to do to improve your 10k time is it's all about race tactics. Now, this is one thing that it took me a while to understand, but you need to run your own race. Every time you go to a race, there will always be people faster than you and people that you won't be able to hang on to no matter what. Sometimes it's a completely different ball game and you end up winning the race, and it's great because you've got a first place medal, but you need to be running your own race, because one, if you go off too hard and you try and stay with people, you're inevitably going to miss your target. So the one thing I do is I always run my own race. So even in that 5k video that I did last week, I was running my own race, but it just turns out that the people that turned up, they weren't as fast as me, which was obviously great. But on the other hand, run your own race is the biggest part of running a 10k, because if you go out too hard, like I said, you're just gonna fall off the pack. But if you go out at the pace that you know that you can sustain, especially if you've run the intervals at it, then you should be able to continually running at that pace by the time you get to race day. So let's say you've done a 10-week block of 10k training and you've gone to your 10k, you're at the start line, you're nervous. One thing you don't do is go out hard. If you go out hard, you're setting yourself up for failure. But if you go out at a steady pace and you can slowly increase it to your goal pace if you're using a watch. So that's a really good gauge for your first 5k of the 10k race, is make sure that you're going at a steady effort. So you are pushing yourself, but you're not pushing yourself too hard because you've still got another 5k to go. So on the second 5k, basically what you want to do is start to kind of pick yourself up. It's gonna start to feel hard, but for the 6 and 7k mark, you should feel pain. Now that's how I felt, and I started dropping off the pack. When you see this clip that I'm just gonna show, I was getting pulled away from, and I was still pushing, but the people who I was racing against, they just had a bit more on me. So that's when I started to lose contact with the pack. Now, one thing that I really need to work on with my running is trying to keep contact with the pack, because as soon as you start to fall off the pace, it can be demoralizing that you're not running with people and you start to run on your own until other people behind you catch up. So pretty much one thing that I would also say, if this is your first 10k race, or if you want to improve your 10k time, is try and find people to run with who are a good level, who are your level, and to make sure that you can stay with them, because inevitably this is a competition and obviously you want to run your own race, but if you're running with other people, it's going to make it so much easier. So try and, if you see you're starting to fall off, look at your watch if you've got a watch and check what time you're running. If you are still speeding up, you're still feeling good, then obviously try and keep contact. But if they just have a bit more on you, that's still fine. You can just reassess your goals for the rest of the race. So basically, the way I want to be able to run 10Ks in the future is I want to get to 9K and feel good. Because when you get to 9K, if you feel good, you know that you can push even harder for that final kilometer. And that's one thing that I would really suggest that you do. As soon as you get to 9K, this is the make or break point. You need to assess what time you're going to be able to get. So it's a really good gauge because you've pretty much run all the race already. So I hit 9K in this race about 30 minutes in, something like that. So I knew I really had to push in order to be able to hit a sub 35 10K. Now, that was a really big challenge for me because I had already run that whole race before, and then I still had that 1K, which was pretty much make or break. So anyway, I just sped up everything I had left in the tank to cross the line. Once across the line, I had no clue what time I had run. I was pretty convinced I hadn't hit a sub 35. I stopped my watch and I looked down, and I probably let out the loudest shout I've ever done because that was the first time I broke 35 minutes for the 10K, and that was again a PB. So I really hope that these kind of stories that I've told alongside my 10K race this week has helped you kind of think about the ways that you want to improve your running, and also hopefully it will lead you to a 10K PB sometime in the future. So make sure to leave a like and subscribe down below, and if you have any other questions about the sort of sessions that I run, I can happily offer my advice.